Right guys, we've had a couple of days off in Saranda and we're on the move again. And the first place we stopped at is a place called Mesopotam, which is between the rivers in Greek, just like Mesopotamia and the Tigris and Euphrates. And we are at an ancient monastery which dates back to 1200. And some of the stuff they found around the monastery shows that there's probably habitation around here going back to prehistoric times. It's in a fantastic setting in the valley, and all the villages around here apart from two, I think there are 9 in the region, and 7 of the 9 are all Greek. So although we're in Albania, it's ethnically Greek. And we passed through a graveyard next door on the way here, and all the graves are inscribed with Greek writing. So it looks like the church itself, the monastery itself, is locked, which is not uncommon in Albania. Lots of the more remote things just seem to be locked up, which is a shame, because it's a wonderful old building, a mixture of Roman brick and stone again. Lovely. And in the garden, the remains of what looks like Roman era columns, because they appear to be fluted. They might be nicked from somewhere else, of course. But yeah, so this thing's a solid 800 years old. And like all monastic buildings, they picked the best spot, as I said. Oh, appears to be a large chunk of it that's fallen off. I wonder where that went. Mythical creatures carved into some stone. They look like replacements, but presumably to replace ones that were the same. And then a single-headed eagle again. Now, the current Albanian flag and things is a double-headed eagle, but some of the older buildings seem to have a single-headed one. I must check out whether that was the original symbol. All ties in with Byzantium, of course. All the eagle business, even the Russian flag with its eagle tied into Byzantium through a long and convoluted path. Sturdy buttress, much later addition to keep the walls upright. It's obviously had a lot of restoration work, but a stunning building. Well, we just managed to get inside, and it's absolutely stunning. Still retains the light blue colouring with the remains of wall paintings. Another beautifully wood-carved altarpiece. Oh my word. I don't know if you're able to see this, but the whole of the, what is it, the nave, is painted with Greek saints. Wow, that's a stroke of luck that we met the chap who had a key. What an amazing place. Yeah, this must have chanted away in here, yeah. It's amazing. Obviously it's in a state of disrepair. The altarpiece and things need serious work, but it looks to be hundreds of years old.
Look at the carving too, little face there.
Oh yes. It's a sort of representation of a flower, but it's got a human face. Oh, and at the top of that one, again, I don't know if you're able to see that, we have the double-headed eagle carved in at the top of that one, which is a Byzantine symbol. People have obviously left flowers here recently as well. So maybe the local community still use this place. Right, we've moved on from the monastery and we've reached Jira Castle, about 20 kilometres away. Very old town. Again, one of Hodge's little projects that he protected to make sure it survived. Very Ottoman, stone roofs, etc., etc. It's got an awful lot more touristy since I was here last, but again, that was a decade ago. As you can see, we're no longer in Jira Castle. It was very hot, and the place had become very touristy, and we just weren't in the mood, to be honest, so we decided to move on another hour or so. And as you can tell by the very large mosque behind me, you can see the minaret poking through the trees. Obviously we're in Greece, and we're in the citadel of Alipasha, and we're with a new friend who's following us about and has done for the last 10 minutes. Very friendly local dog, and we're surrounded by cannons and cannonballs and things, because Alipasha was a bit of a bandit. He was a local Pasha. He was actually Albanian, but he lived most of his time here in Greece and spoke Greek. And he was a bit of a thorn in the side of the Ottoman Empire. And because he was a thorn in the side of the Ottoman Empire, of course the British helped him out. And some of these cannons were actually made in the good old UK and supplied to Ali to attack the Turks with. It's a beautiful Ottoman complex, it really is. It's some fabulous buildings in here. We've been before. In fact, I've been several times because I enjoy it so much. It's got complete buildings like a Byzantine library, and then these outbuildings that would have been living in accommodation and offices and all sorts of stuff. The huge mosque, and then there's another part of the citadel which we'll go to shortly, where you'd probably call it more of the military section. But I mean, how about that for a galleried Ottoman end to a mosque? It's absolutely beautiful. And it's wonderfully cool, yeah. In the shade, in these arches, it's wonderfully cool, because again, the sun is really starting to crank up. It's quite early yet, it's not even 10 o'clock, and it must be middle 70s, so we'll be over 30 degrees again by the middle of the day. It is a wonderful place. And as I say, there is absolutely no shortage of cannonballs. Hundreds of them all over the place. So this is, the mosque is called Alipasha Mosque. It dates back to 1618, which obviously predates Alipasha himself by some considerable time. And the castle, excuse me doggy, and the castle is built on the lake, which is really quite beautiful. And then if you can see the little boat heading over there, that's an island, and there's a monastery on the island where Ali Pasha had effectively been under house arrest when his downfall finally came, and he was shot there by Ottoman agents. Apparently you can still see the bullet holes in the wall. So it's a stunning place. Ionnina's set in a wonderful place. It's got the hills all around, you've got the massive lake. It is a beautiful setting, it really is. So the inside of the mosque is now the local museum, filled with Ottoman era Greek costume, which is really quite fancy in some cases, very intricate embroidery. And this area in Ionnina was also famed for its silver work, which I was unaware of. The mosque building itself is absolutely stunning. It's like all these old mosques, the simple architecture somehow conspires to be something greater than the sum of its parts. And the oblong building outside, I've just been told by someone here, was the madrasa, or madrasa I should say, the Islamic school. It is a beautiful old mosque. Painted decoration again, which is very much a Balkan thing really. Almost certainly a Bektashi mosque. So one interesting thing we've just found out in the museum, which obviously I must have read about before but I'd forgotten, was that Ionnina was also a centre of Jewish culture from the 1st century BC, and that the Jewish community here had their own language, which was a mixture of Hebrew and Greek words interspersed. And it was a thriving community and continued to thrive even under the Ottomans, right up to the Second World War. And unfortunately, 92% of Ionninian Greeks ended up being deported and gassed, which is just unbelievable, that 92% of a community can disappear in what was effectively a couple of years, because it was only towards the end of the war that this tragedy took place. So absolutely incredible that a whole community could be wiped out like that so quickly. Anyway, let's go look at the other part of the right. So not content with having one castle, Ionnina's got a second one, which is even bigger, which we're in now. I forgot to mention at the Alipasha Mosque that Lord Byron came to visit Alipasha, and he's mentioned in the Childe Harold poem. This was at a time, as I said, when the British influence in the area was strong, because they were trying to disrupt the Ottoman Empire, and Byron came because he was a very strong proponent of Greek independence. This hillside has been fortified since ancient Greek times, but the fortifications that are here now, these walls are really quite large, were massively strengthened by Alipasha during his control of the area, as he had no intention of giving up his power to the Sultan. He was going to make sure he kept it himself. Anyway, let's have a look at this old mosque and see how far that dates back. Right. I just found out that the mosque is called the Fethiye Mosque, which is the Victory Mosque basically, and dates back to 1430. So even older than the one that we're in before. And it stands on the site of a Christian church that predated it. So presumably part of the foundations are still where Elizabeth's standing. This decorative iron trellis. Inside there lies the body of Alipasha, because when the Ottomans shot him, they then brought him back across to Ionnina and decapitated him and carried the head around the town to show to everyone that he was in fact dead. And then the family brought his body, minus his head, up here and buried it. Now the trellis is a copy, because the original was removed in the Second World War, presumably for a melting down. But the local Antiquity Society, shall we call it, decided it was only fitting that it should be replaced. So in the 1990s they made an exact copy, and here it stands today. So in there is Alipasha, the Lion of Ionnina. And to some, although he was a Muslim, the starting point for Greek independence, because his rebellion helped break the Ottoman rule in this area, and he relied on a lot of Greek support, Greek troops, to fight the Ottomans. And as Elizabeth points out, as a resting place, it's fairly impressive. Not a bad place to spend the rest of eternity. The outer curtain wall, which protects the whole of the inner town, is pretty substantial, several metres thick and multi-layered, as we're about to see when we go through this archway which gave entrance to this side of the castle, the landward side. Dog-legged, I assume, to provide a killing zone. And then outside we're into the old town. Sorry, the news walking by the lake, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's a snake swimming along. You can just see, might just see the ripples as it swims along. You don't often see snakes swimming, well, at least I've not often seen snakes swimming. It may be very common, but I've not seen it. Coming in a little bit closer. I don't know if you see it. It's stripy, so yeah, it could be venomous. It's stripy. Maybe I won't get too close.